What if we added a few more cameras to Oregon so you were always being watched? This is what a few people wanted, so we'll go ahead and give the security an upgrade. Starting off small as we usually do by adding a few cameras to the main lobby. Meeting has also been blocked off by the cameras, so you do the next best thing and head downtown Jimmy Brown. Giant cams have been installed to make sure no one can creep like the creep man downtown Jimmy Brown. You even have a camera set up for the gooners to watch the Jenna Ortega poster. Also, Pillar has been replaced. Originally, I had planned on filling all of downtown Jimmy Brown with cameras, but this crashed Siege multiple times and nearly blew up my PC. However, we were able to fill up showers with cameras, ready to hopefully spot a sopping wet dock in the shower. You head outside because you have the uneasy feeling of being watched constantly. But that still hasn't changed now that there's a giant camera above Oregon. You then turn around to see 3 huge cameras watching you. No matter where you go, you're being watched. There's now a humongous camera looming in the sky. What if we added more soccer balls to Favela? This is what a lot of people wanted across a bunch of my social media platforms, so this is another one for the people. We'll start out by filling the top floor with balls, soccer balls that is. We also put in an extra wall, just to fill up the room a bit faster. But the balls deserve to be free and flowing in the wind, so we'll open up the wall a bit to let some out. But a few of them rolled downtown Jimmy Brown. Now Walter White's lab is filled basically to the ceiling with balls, and you can't really see it, but my FPS has dropped significantly. But it's very satisfying to walk through and let the balls hit you in the face. Some of the balls snuck through down the stairs and once again piled up downtown Jimmy Brown. It's pretty funny to see them all roll out. Reminds me of SpongeBob's trophy closet when they all come flying out. The kids' room has also been filled with soccer balls, flooding out into the hallway after rappelling in. I tried to make a giant soccer ball, but it wouldn't work. Instead, we'll put in a giant beach ball. What if instead of just a ledge in Coastline Courtyard, the entire middle was covered, allowing you to freely hop through any window on either side? But not only that, you could breach open the pink bar a little bit easier. This would give you a much better line of sight. Now you might be thinking, wouldn't this make post-plant incredibly easy for attackers, since they could just sit up on the roof? Well, let me take this one step further. What if the entire roof was covered up? This would allow for easier rotates for defenders around the top floor since they could now cut across the middle. Now you're probably thinking, this spot is pretty useless for attackers since they can't get in from here anymore. Well, let me go a step further, and let's throw a new hatch in the roof, allowing attackers to still drop from the roof. Now another thing you could be thinking is, there's no quick way down into the courtyard. How am I supposed to get down there? Well, my answer for that, another hatch, allowing you to drop down in front of the kitchen wall, just in time to stop the plant at the kitchen window. Do you like any of these changes? Let me know in the comments whether you'd want any of these changes, or if you have any ideas yourself. And remember, this is all just for fun, so don't take anything too serious. What if the canal on the map Canal flooded, and kept flooding? Well, here's what that would look like, even if you didn't ask. Let's say Gridlock somehow managed to swim over to the building. The water is already up to the second floor, so you have to splish-splash around to see what happened. This could honestly be a fun game mode, where the water is constantly rising and you still have to fight, with each floor of the building slowly flooding. The entire first floor is already flooded out, so you can't even go down there. Now the water is all the way up to the third floor, so the second floor is no longer an option, unless you want to risk it and swim through what looks to be pretty dark and dirty water. So visibility is at an all-time low, and that could be the end of you. The water is basically up to head level at this point on the third floor, but it would be cool if you could crouch under the water, allowing you to sneak up on whoever still remains on the top floor. Once whoever wins completing their objective, or even if they fail, the goal would now be to get to the roof, since the water is still rising and it's not stopping. So you either have to call in a helicopter or boat, or fight for the last radio to call in that rescue. What if you attempted to board the helicopter on border? Clearly you didn't hear the announcer well enough, so we'll have to add some more speakers. And this is what Breach wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll start off by adding one out where you tried to board the helicopter. But that's definitely not enough, because deep down you still want to board that helicopter. You head inside though, because hearing that announcer is nauseating at this point. But you then realize that all the lockers and armory have been replaced with speakers. You gotta get out of this room, so you head over to security, and you realize the TVs are playing the announcer on a loop. The waiting room now has a speaker to make sure anyone who even thinks about waiting in the waiting room for that helicopter will know. You're gonna vomit everywhere, so you head to the bathroom, but now there's a speaker in there. You make another effort to board the helicopter because you can't take it anymore, but you clearly did not get the message. There is now a giant speaker. As the very last effort, you try and leave border, since there is one last helicopter on the other side of the fence. It's very clear that you didn't get the message.
Do not attempt to board the helicopter!
Ever wonder what it would look like to have every window on Cafe open? Well, here's your answer even if you said no. Shout out to my boy Key and Chopper, he did this first on Chalet. But with all the windows open, this would be a spawn peeker's paradise. However, it's still really cool to see what this would look like. Now the front is a little weird looking since some of the windows don't line up well with anything on the inside. Like the one on the bottom right is covered by bottom red stairs. The back ally side has a few extra windows in the bathroom hall and in fireplace. It's cool to see the window that's in prep because that's actually how it used to be on Old Cafe. There's also a sneaky window in train, but we'll get to that in a bit. There's an extra window in cigar lounge that's usually covered, which has a pretty crazy view to outside, so I can see why this one got covered. People probably never noticed this one, but there is actually a window top red stairs, which would honestly be really interesting if this one was ever opened up. Cocktail lounge would be a nightmare to defend with all these windows open. This is what the front windows look like from the inside, which honestly look a lot better from this side. Lastly is the window in train. Now you might be thinking, there's no window here. Well, what if the train rolled away? Now you have a sneaky window in train. What if we added a few more soft walls to Oregon? This is what I Hate 1.5 and Zim wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll start off by replacing all the outside attic walls with soft walls. Why don't we take it one step further though? Let's replace the attic floor with soft walls. Are these enough soft walls for you yet? No? I didn't think so. All the walls and doorways in the dorm main hall and games have been replaced with soft walls. But we'll take it one step further. Everything near Big Window has disappeared, and it has been fully replaced with more soft walls. Now we're outside and everything looks relatively normal. But you want to make sure that big tower hasn't been fully replaced with soft walls, and so far, I'd say everything looks good to me. Nothing out of the ordinary here. But what if while you were checking out Big Tower to make sure everything was good, you turn around and all of Oregon has been replaced with giant soft walls? Now you look down to the ground and ponder, have we overdone it with the soft walls? And the answer to that is no. You look up and the entire sky has been replaced by one giant soft wall. I hope this is everything you wanted. I Hate 1.5 and Zim. What if you attempted to board the helicopter on Chalet? We all know what happened last time, but for some reason you attempted again. A speaker has been added to the helipad, so you head inside and go downtown Jimmy Brown. Speaking of downtown Jimmy Brown, the merch is officially here. For the people on TikTok and Instagram, it's in my bio. And for YouTube, it's right in the store tab. When it arrives, be sure to send a picture, and I'll post it on my stories. But you arrive downtown Jimmy Brown and see speakers have been added to garage, so you head into wine to drink until you pass out. But wine has been filled with speakers. You're gonna vomit everywhere from all the noise. You head uptown Funk and you see that the fireplace has been replaced with a speaker. You gotta get out of here. You head outside to seek refuge in the gazebo, and once again, your hearing is gone. Well, that's because a giant speaker has been put up on the roof of Chalet. You try and escape, but the road downtown Jimmy Brown is blocked off on both sides. You then realize that the valley has been filled with speakers. What if we added more hatches to the Chalet basement? Canyon wanted 10, but I think he deserves a little more. We'll start out by replacing all of the soft floor and main lobby with hatches, turning the main lobby into a balance beam room after breaking all the hatches. But the comment did say basement, so in case this is what he meant, we'll replace the entire garage floor with hatches. Best be watching your step though once they are broken. You don't want to fall downtown Jimmy Brown into the void. But how about we take this a step further and replace the garage door with one big hatch? This makes it easy to not only reinforce, but open up as well. We'll also replace the stairs with hatches. This way operators like Gridlock can get a bit more exercise climbing up the hatches. Might as well replace all of the wine floor with one big hatch, although doing this is risky business, because the cracks in the floor can't be seen, so this is a one-way ticket to the void. After falling into the void, Finca somehow climbed out, but only to realize that all of Chalet has been replaced by giant hatches. But then after being stunned by Chalet disappearing, you now realize that all of the mountains surrounding Chalet are giant hatches. I hope this is what you wanted, Canyon. What if the middle section between statue and trophy on villa was missing some stuff? All the walls are gone, but instead of putting them back, let's change it up a bit. The floors are connected now, making it one big open space. But you might be thinking to yourself, this might be the worst idea I've ever seen. There's no cover here. Well, let's change that. Now we got something to work with. A desk, some boxes, and a statue to provide some cover. And keep in mind more things could be added or taken away too. But this would give a bit more cover for now. Now you might be thinking, this just makes it easy pickings for anyone sitting on the roof looking through the skylight. And you'd be right. Well, let's say the guy who owns Villa loves his country, so he hung up a few flags. And he also raised the skylight a bit. Now it's no more easy pickings. But you like how you were able to hop down into the middle for a sneaky flank, or just a quick way back to wherever you need to be. How about we throw in a hatch? Now this spot isn't set in stone, but it would be similar to how it was before, dropping you down right into Red Hallway. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments, and remember, don't take these reworks seriously. They are all just for fun, and just what-if scenarios. Ever wonder what Villa would look like if it had every single window open? Well, even if you said no, here it is. There's now a window above red stairs, as well as 2 windows in statue, making this great for spawn peekers, but a tragedy for anchors. The closet has 2 new windows giving you a nice view of the sunset, as well as one in the bathroom above the tub. Maybe you'd get lucky and spot Doc taking a bath. There's 2 new windows in Astro, and you may be thinking, where's the second window? Well, from inside you can't see it, but outside on rappel, you see right into Astro stairs. Trophy has 3 new windows, and combined with Statue's open windows, it'll be the hardest site to defend. 90 Hall basically has 90 windows, which you don't realize until they are all open. Walking down this hall, you'd for sure face a firing squad from the windows. Sadly, there's nothing 3rd floor with the windows open, and same thing with the tower. Main stairs has 2 new windows, making this spot horrible for defenders. Downtown Jimmy Brown and main entrance, there's a whole new door here, as well as a window for this room and art. Study has 2 new windows, and there's also one in Aviator, which would be a crazy spot for attackers to sit. There's a few more in this area, one being in piano, and the others being top red stairs. There's one looking into storage that would just lead to a locked cage. Laundry, dining, and kitchen are just all opened up now, turning this into one of the worst sites of all time since there's nowhere for defenders to sit. Lastly, there's bottom red hall, reading and mudroom, which has a whole new door. What if we added more radios to Consulate? This is what Reagan wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll start off by replacing a few cars with the radio. You'd think the music would get louder, but it stays the same eerily quiet volume. Next, we'll replace the piano in the press room with the radio, because we only want to hear bangers. And trust me, I know bangers. No piano could ever replicate this masterpiece. The main lobby floor has been fully replaced with the radio, so anyone walking in the front door will immediately know the people running Consulate have impeccable music taste. The statue on spiral stairs has been replaced with a radio because everyone knows the combo of the radio and this song are truly better than any sculpture they could ever put on display. We'll head upstairs and we can see that the long desk floor, wall, and the desk itself have all been replaced with the radio. So not only are the people that are downtown Jimmy Brown getting jiggy with it, but you also have the people uptown funk getting funky. It's important to make sure the town hears this banger, so we'll go ahead and replace all of Consulate with the radio. Actually, we'll do the people of this city one better, and we'll replace the entire city with the Consulate radio. I hope this is what you wanted, Reagan. What if we added more poles from strip around the map, and we made it so Iana could use them? This is what Sir Alex Ferguson wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll start out by adding a few to the bar, since we want every operator to get in on the action, especially Doc. We'll also put a pole under every hatch. Now there's multiple ways to get upstairs, and get downstairs at lightning speed if you're oiled up. All of Stock's floor has been replaced with poles, although you'll need to watch your steps so you don't fall downtown Jimmy Brown. Garage has a giant pole reaching up to the ceiling, and yes, you can use it. We've also taken out the stairs and put a pole there instead, and the same goes for oil pit, where we'd hopefully see an oiled up Doc. Looks like a couple of guys are already getting down to business with the new poles that were put up in the arsenal room. And of course there's a pole that leads up the kitchen hatch. Upstairs, gym and bedroom have been made into one room, and there's also a pole that's upside down that actually can be used. We'll head outside and we can see there's now a pole for gridlock, and the smokestacks have been replaced with poles. The last pole we'll add in leads to the exosphere. Now this is a true gridlock size pole. What if Clubhouse got flipped upside down? This is what Slide Up Tier asked for, so this is what he's getting. The garage is basically an obstacle course. You don't realize how many pipes and random other things are on the ceiling until you have to climb through everything. This would be pretty funny if Ubisoft did something like this for an April Fool's Day event. But let me tell you, this took hours to do, because you basically have to move each object individually. This includes the little magazines and bottles lying around. If you somehow manage to climb up to the catwalk, the stairs become a crazy new spot to sit. Although trying to get over into CCTV is all blocked off, so you're stuck like Chuck. This is also what it looks like to climb a ladder upside down, in case you were wondering. I only did one other room because my eyes were gonna fall out if I spent any more time flipping stuff around, so here is Cash upside down. Would you play a game mode like this if everything was flipped? Or would this make you vomit everywhere? It's interesting, because even though the doorways are flipped, the barricades are still right side up. I did also flip the smokestacks just to see what they would look like, and it's pretty funny. Maybe one of these days I'll flip an entire map, but this is it for now. What if we added a bunch of hatches to bank? This is what Josh wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll throw a few hatches in the office hallway to get us started. Now anyone sitting by the elevator is toast. But we aren't done yet. Let's throw a few hatches in the main lobby to make things even more crazy. You better watch your step though, because instead of dropping downstairs, you'll drop into the void and be stuck like Chuck forever. But just to show you what the void is like, let's throw a smoke in there and see what happens. This hatch over here is gridlock proof, but everyone else still needs to watch their step. We'll add in a few more hatches to open area, more of which also lead to the void. Next we'll get a bit crazy, and fill in the hole in top square with a giant hatch. Maybe this one could fit gridlock. Let's take it one step further though. What if a new building went up next to bank, but it was just a giant hatch? But what if we went a step further? What if the sun was blocked out by the world's biggest hatch? I hope these are enough hatches for you, Josh. What if we added more soccer balls to the map that's been lost to time? Bartlett University. This is what Baby Metal wanted, so this is what they're getting. We'll add a handful to the front office to start out small as we usually do. But this time we brought orcs so we can run through and let the balls hit us in the face. Next we'll add some to the rowing museum. This way we can change the room to the balls museum, and we'll also block off the stairs so we can fill it up. But we gotta let the balls be free, so we'll open up the hatch and let them pour downtown Jimmy Brown. The next spot we'll add some soccer balls to is the west corridor, and sprint through to open it up, and also go to town with the bailiff. This way the balls can flow in the wind and spread to other rooms. Lastly, we'll fill up the coat room, but I accidentally stacked them and it looked really cool. But of course we'll fill up the room and run through the wall. Imagine if thermite could take out the steel beams in the floor, making gridlock-sized hatches. It would probably be way too overpowered, but it's just a fun idea. This probably wouldn't be practical either, but you could make two really big holes right on top of each other. The thing that would be nice though is that when shooting through the floor the beams wouldn't be in the way. However, I know they are there to make vertical play a bit more challenging. It would be pretty funny though to see an unsuspecting defender somehow manage to fall into the hole, if they got too tunnel visioned or something. It would be similar with hard breach charges. However, you could hot drop with these, which would honestly be really fun to try, especially if you had 5 people in different spots drop from the ceiling at the same time. Once again, this would be way too overpowered, but it's all just for fun. Creating your own hatch basically anywhere is a cool idea, and could be a ton of fun to try different strats with. But what are your thoughts on this? What kind of strats would you come up with? What if we reworked the basement on Villa to make it a viable bomb site? Well, let's get started since we already took some pieces out. The first thing would be to change the doorway in the garage to a soft wall, so it's no longer easy for the attackers to walk right in. Now you might be wondering, what about that little soft wall over by the stairs? Well, how about we throw a doorway here instead? Another thing you might be thinking, this is way too easy since the attackers could walk right into sight from the other door. Well, I'll leave that up to you to decide what's better, leaving it as a doorway or making it a soft wall. The next thing to do is replace the soft wall in the corner with a concrete wall, giving the defenders a nice spot to sit to contest the new garage door and the potential new left wall next to it. We'll throw in some cover in the corner over here with a new hop-up spot to contest the wall or door, but it's not entirely safe since you can get back shots from the art door. We'll throw in 2 bomb chassis to make this officially a bomb site. And lastly, throw in a bit more cover and another hop-up spot that once again you could sit there at the risk of getting back shots. But what are your thoughts on this rework idea? Remember, don't take anything too serious, and comment something like, "Good thing you're not a dev," because this is all for fun and just what-if scenarios. What if we added a few more metal detectors to border? This is what Kurdish dude wanted, so this is what he's getting. We gotta start off small and add a few to the main hallway. Since this version of Siege has pre-reworked border, we gotta add in a bridge from east stairs to get over to the balcony, but we'll make it out of metal detectors to alert anyone in the area that someone is coming. We'll also add in a couple metal detectors in break room, so we'll know if Gridlock is headed to the microwave or fridge, although I'm not sure if these metal detectors are big enough for her to fit through. We'll also replace the walls in security and armory, since this is such a high traffic area, and we don't want anyone creeping like the creep man. But we gotta make sure no cars can pass through undetected, so we'll throw a metal detector in to cover the whole street. But the people at the border are rioting. They want to board the helicopter, and they've knocked over the wall. There's no time to fix the wall, so we'll put up another metal detector. But too many people already got past the border, so now to help with the situation, we've put up a metal detector to cover the entire building. To ensure that no one ever attempts to board the helicopter ever again, we've gone ahead and enclosed border with metal detectors. Now anyone on border will slowly lose their sanity, hearing the constant beeping. Border is now secure. What if we added more windows to cafe? This is what Royal Penguin wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll start out by knocking out the walls in Cigar Lounge and replacing them with windows. Now spawn peekers can have a field day. But we gotta make it somewhat fair for attackers if they make it into the building, so we'll replace the entire soft floor with windows. Now anyone lurking downtown Jimmy Brown can catch anyone sitting in Cigar Lounge from below. We'll also add a few more windows in Whitehall, just in case anyone thinks it's a good idea to sneak around the side of Park. In case you thought you were safe spawning at the river docks, you are most certainly not. Cigar, Cocktail, and the new balcony we've added all have windows looking out into that spawn, so the attackers are stuck like Chuck. You might as well just not spawn in at the river docks, because we've replaced the entire front of Cafe with windows. Now any defender could be creeping like the creep man on any floor in any room of the building. But now we've enclosed Cafe with windows, a spawn peeker's paradise. Defenders can even get up to the roof now, so good luck going anywhere. What if we added more skylights to Cafe? This is what Gazebo Meister wanted, so that's what I'm getting. We'll add a handful of skylights onto the roof, so you now can drop downtown Jimmy Brown into Cigar Lounge, Cocktail, Bathroom, and White Stairs. And of course the hatches have been replaced with skylights. But it's not fair that only people on the 3rd floor get some extra sun, so we'll add in a couple skylights into Cigar Lounge. Now anyone sitting in train can get some extra sun. We've also replaced White Stairs with skylights, allowing you to quickly get downtown Jimmy Brown to the 1st floor. However, good luck getting back upstairs this way. There's also a skylight that drops downtown Jimmy Brown into the void. Falling in here is a one-way trip, so you better watch your step. The kitchen walls have been replaced with skylights, although now you have to lay low like a buffalo to get under. I think it's best that we just make the entire roof into one big skylight at this point, but we need something that Gridlock can fit through, so we'll go ahead and make a skylight that just might be able to fit Gridlock. Now Gridlock can fit and all of Cafe can get some sun from the new skylight. What if we added metal detectors to Chalet? This is what Baby Metal wanted, so this is what they're getting. You know how we do it around here already. We start off small, and we'll add a bunch to main lobby, splitting off towards main stairs and the dining hallway. Dining is blocked off by some snowmobiles, so we'll follow the path of metal detectors and head downtown Jimmy Brown. There's now a metal detector in blue hallway, and a couple in garage, one of them replacing the garage door that has been blocked off with more snowmobiles. The middle of wine is now gone and been replaced with metal detectors, as well as a giant one. Still not big enough for Gridlock though. You go ahead and climb the metal detector by the hatch, and you realize you're stuck like Chuck since border walls have been put up in kitchen and dining, so you head out the kitchen window towards the gazebo. You can no longer hear anything. That's because you went deaf from the giant metal detector that's been put in above Chalet. But you notice a shadow and turn around to see a metal detector almost big enough to fit Gridlock. What if we added more motorcycles to Clubhouse? This is what Joshy Boy has been asking for pretty consistently, so this is what he's getting. We'll start out small, as we always do, and add a few to the bar. This way you can participate in the DUI Derby as soon as you get done drinking. But since so many people participated in the DUI Derby, There's now a ton of bikes that need to be fixed up, so they're piled all the way up to the ceiling, and the wall had to be taken out. Anyone that managed to get in there is probably stuck like Chuck. Somehow, a motorcycle drives itself up the stairs, leaving Doc with a perplexed look. Sadly, downtown Jimmy Brown has been blocked off with the Thanos bikes, so you head uptown Funk. You head into Cash to see the world's longest bike, and after messing with it a bit, Doc is now oiled up, so he heads to the shower. But most of the shower floor has been replaced with motorcycles. You head outside because all the fumes from the bike are getting to your head, and you notice that Gridlock pulled up. But you're delusional from all those fumes. That motorcycle isn't nearly big enough for Gridlock. You turn around, and this time you actually see Gridlock's motorcycle. What if we added more money to bank? This is what a lot of people asked for across all the social media platforms I have. So, this is for the people. We'll start off small by adding a bit of money in the vault. All of the safety deposit boxes are overflowing, and the floor has also been replaced with cash. But there's another big load coming in. I'm talking about more money, and it's taking up the entire elevator, falling out on the floor. It's so high up that you can't even get through the hatch. Whoever this guy is with all this cash, he had enough to buy the bank and replace the CEO walls with stacks of cash, which honestly works a lot better than you would expect. Downtown Jimmy Brown in the main lobby, half of the room has been filled to the ceiling with money, making it nearly impossible to leave. There's just a non-stop cash flow entering the bank. This guy has so much money that he bought the building with the picture of Jason Bateman on it and replaced it with a cash tower. There's infinite money that the bank has overflowed, and the giant cash pile has started flooding out into the city. Luckily, you've climbed up some cash to a helicopter to escape, but you misstep when boarding the helicopter. What if we added more Jenna Ortega or Olivia Rodrigo or whatever you want to call the baddie poster to Oregon? This has been highly requested by all the gooners, so this is what they're getting. We'll start out by replacing most of the walls and floors in dorms with the poster, but I'm sure this won't be enough, so we'll head outside. We've gone ahead and replaced pretty much all of Attic and Big Tower with posters. We replaced as much of the tower as possible, going all the way up to the roof. We've also replaced the silos outside of the map with the poster, which is risky business going out here. We've replaced Small Tower with the new Big Tower, but it's just posters that might just be big enough to fit a picture of Gridlock. Nah, I'm kidding. No way these are big enough. We'll just go ahead and replace the sky with one big poster. Still not big enough for Gridlock, to be honest. But now Oregon is a gooner's paradise. What if there was a huge snowstorm on Chalet, causing parts of the roof to collapse? This is what Caleb wanted, so this is what he's getting. The snow has filled up a majority of the top floor, and you can forget about downtown Jimmy Brown. The snow has broken through all of the windows and filled up every room. This would kind of be a cool feature if certain maps had natural disasters that could affect the map in some way. Or a limited time event where you have to fight in a snowstorm on Chalet that has been hit by an avalanche or blizzard. You now have to find new ways to traverse the building, breaking open walls since doorways are blocked off, or maybe an entire new path has been opened up. Like the only way into the main lobby is through the office wall, but the whole main lobby has been filled with snow, allowing you to get to places you couldn't be previously. But Chalet has been hit with even more snow and is now entirely covered, allowing you to walk on top of it after climbing up the snowbank. But even more snow has hit Chalet, and the only safe spot left on the map is the gazebo. But now you're stuck like Chuck. What if we added a few more hatches to the theme park roof? This is what Professor Segundis wanted, and since he always comments on my videos, this is what he's getting. We'll start off small by replacing the entire roof with hatches. Although you better watch your step with this one. You don't want to fall downtown Jimmy Brown. And when I said the entire roof, I meant it. This gives attackers a better chance at entering the building. We've also replaced a couple of the soft walls in the throne room. I'm sure you're wondering what it looks like to reinforce it. Well, unfortunately, it's like reinforcing a regular wall, perhaps because it's in the same spot. Another thing is that we've made Dragon Stairs a ramp, so it's now wheelchair accessible for Scopos. And for Yellow Stairs, we've added a few hatches so you now have access to underneath the stairs. Although you'll need a flashlight to be able to see in here. But of course, you know what they say, go big or go home, and we aren't going home. So we'll go ahead and replace all of the rides around Theme Park with hatches. But there's just something that feels nostalgic about being at a theme park at night. So we'll go ahead and block out the sun. This way you can see the theme park constantly lit up, no matter the time of day. What if we added more planes to plane? This has to be one of the most requested ideas in my comments, and I finally found a way to get it working. Well, sort of, but this is once again for the people. We gotta add a few planes to the sky because it only makes sense that there would be planes flying around at the airport. But what I meant by sort of was that I could only grab the outer shell of the plane. If I tried to move everything else, realistically it would probably take days. You still can go inside the plane though, but you'll just drop downtown Jimmy Brown into an invisible barrier, or you'll be stuck like Chuck, since usually you can't get to this part of the plane. This would also be an awesome place to hit a trick shot, although it does take a very long time to fall all the way downtown Jimmy Brown. And just to show you how many pieces are actually in the plane, here is the outer shell removed. As you can see, there's probably thousands of little parts that go into it, so you can see why it would take so long to duplicate. What if we added more soccer balls to Presidential Plane? This is what Olivia Rodrigo wanted, so this is what she's getting. We'll start off small as we usually do and add some balls to the executive office, filling it up to the ceiling. But now we'll break down the wall so the balls can be free. We'll also add in some balls to meeting, because who wouldn't want to play with their balls while sitting around in a boring meeting? But we gotta let the balls connect rooms, making one giant ball pit, so we'll go ahead and open up the room. Now the balls are all touching, connected, and flowing in the wind. We'll also fill up that secret room with balls, so you're stuck like Chuck, surrounded by balls. You can't have a cockpit without some balls to accompany it. The cockpit is now a ball pit. There are so many balls in here that they are pressed up against the glass going nuts. But we'll open up the hatch and let the balls flow downtown Jimmy Brown. What if a plane crashed into tower? This is probably one of my most requested videos, so I finally made it happen. The first thing we had to do was build the plane. That way it's intact when it crashes into tower. The entire plane is just a shell though, because I don't have the time to recreate Presidential Plane in its entirety. However, the outside of the plane is completely solid, and you can climb it on both sides. But from the inside of the plane, it almost looks like nothing is there. But if a plane crashed into tower, there'd for sure be some destruction. So we'll go ahead and clear out a bunch of the stuff that was in the plane's path. If we head downtown Jimmy Brown, we can see that the plane knocked out a bunch of stuff. And even further downtown Jimmy Brown, we can see the plane has become the new ceiling. This would be pretty interesting though if Siege had dynamic maps where something like this could happen. What if we deleted theme park? This is what Axel wanted, and since this is one of the most liked comments, and this will be my final edited Siege Maps video, this is for the people. I'm joking. Happy April Fool's Day. Gonna keep this series going for as long as possible. But I'm not joking about theme park. It's gone, and we couldn't do nothing about it. Well, for the most part. There are still some remnants of theme park laying around that refuse to be deleted. Mostly just wires, plants, grass, and random other objects. Here's an aerial view, and as you can see, it's like a nuke went off in this one area, because the shadows are still stuck like Chuck in the ground. Another weird thing is that the audio stays the same, so even with all the walls and floors gone, the audio is still muffled in certain areas depending on where the impact lands. But while testing out the audio, I slipped through the cracks of time and fell downtown Jimmy Brown into the void. And trust me, you don't want to end up stuck like Chuck down here. What if we added more metal detectors to bank? This is what Emoyer and Ryder wanted, so this is what they're getting. Of course, we gotta start off small by adding a few to the office hallway, making sure no one can sneak into open area undetected. We'll actually go ahead and put some metal detectors that cover all of open area. This way, no matter where you walk, you'll be detected if you have any metal. We'll replace all the soft walls in the staff room. This way we'll know when Gridlock is headed to try and steal a snack. Although I'm not sure these metal detectors, or honestly this whole room, is big enough for Gridlock. The constant beeping is getting outrageous, so you head downtown Jimmy Brown to take refuge, only to fall in a summoning circle of metal detectors. Luckily, Oryx can jump back out. You head outside because you can't take it anymore, and you see Bank has put in giant metal detectors to make sure no one sneaks through the front door. As a last effort to get away, you attempt to board the helicopter after they dropped a ladder down to you. But when you finally get to the top, there's more metal detectors. By this point, Bank has turned into the most secure bank of all time, by turning into one giant metal detector. So you now hear a constant beeping. What if we made all of second floor of Oregon a site? This is what Lewis Hamilton Enjoyer wanted, and since I'm a sellout and he keeps sending money, this is what he's getting. We'll make all of second floor an open concept plan, but we've replaced one of the walls with a chassis, and we've added in chassis around all of the second floor. This way you'll be able to plant the diffuser anywhere. We've even put one back in Big Tower, like it used to be on Old Oregon. Since this is a second floor only video, we'll block off all of downtown Jimmy Brown. So that means main stairs, white stairs, and tower stairs are all cut off, of course using more chassis to help make every room a site. And just for fun, we'll make all of Tower 1 big bomb site that you can actually enter, but you still can't go downtown Jimmy Brown. We've also made a roof of chassis and opened up the small tower wall. This way it's all one room and part of the new second floor. And of course, downtown Jimmy Brown is blocked off. But we gotta add in a giant chassis for fun. So we'll go ahead and add that in, making a new skyscraper next to Oregon. What if we added a basement, also known as downtown Jimmy Brown, to Coastline? This is what Ukval wanted, so this is what he's getting since he sent some flames. We have the basic layout already, but first we need to give it a name. The Jimmy Brown bar fits nicely, I think. Since it's a bar, we gotta have some beverages stocked and ready to be served, so that's all ready to go. Next, we'll add in a private room where you'll be able to get dances from an oiled-up dock, as well as adding in some curtains that look like vines if you want to close off the room and get extra wild. We'll add in some jimmies to make all the gooners happy since I've seen a few comments asking for these, as well as a pool table for the people waiting for dock to be done. We'll also add in some lights, so people aren't stumbling around in the dark, and the bartender can see what's going on behind the bar. Gotta throw in some TVs too, in case there's a game on, or you want to watch Morbius, as well as a camera to keep an eye on people. What if we added a fourth floor to cafe? This is what a bunch of people asked for across all my social media accounts, so this is what they're getting. This is also going to be a very bare bones layout, because adding all the little details would take hours. But the first thing we need to do is put down a new floor, so we'll go ahead and do that. Adding in a new hatch above piano, some red carpeting, some tile flooring, and marble flooring. The next thing to do is to add in some walls and a roof. We'll keep some of the windows closed so it's not a spawn peeker's paradise, but we'll definitely leave a couple open. We don't want to make things too easy. The first rooms we'll add in are a new bar and a bathroom since those two go hand in hand. The hatch is also behind the bar in case the bartender needs to go downtown Jimmy Brown. The next two rooms we'll add in is a lounge room, where people can lay low like a buffalo and relax, and they can smell the freshly baked goods being whipped up in the new bakery next to them, where they can watch the bakers make everything fresh. Old Skylight has also been replaced with a gridlock-sized hatch, and the last room is just extra storage for the bakers. Or maybe you can leave an idea in the comments of what it should be. Have you ever wondered what's in the attic on Villa? Well, even if you didn't ask, here it is, but this is what my guy Kean Chopper wanted, so this is what he's getting. There's nothing up here though, so let's change that. This is going to be another pretty bare bones design, but we'll see what we can do. The first thing to do is close off the walls and add in a ceiling, although now you need a flashlight since it's darker than a bag of dark up here. There's also this little tuckaway spot where you can lay low like a buffalo, but we need some walls up here, as well as a doorway to be able to get through the other side quickly. So we'll put in a door frame and then make our own door. Might as well make this a site too, since downtown Jimmy Brown doesn't have a bomb site on Villa. We'll make it Uptown Funk. We'll add in a wall and make another doorway to section off the middle of the attic. Lastly, since it is an attic, we gotta add in a bunch of random stuff that's just here to sit and collect dust. So we'll do this, nearly blowing up my PC and dropping the frame rate since there's so much random stuff around. What if we added crawlable vents to Canal? Since CS Gibbo has been begging and pleading for days, we'll go ahead and do this. We'll start off simple, adding a vent that you can crawl through from outside into Coast Guard. But what if you wanted a speedy way to drop downtown Jimmy Brown? Well, we've got that covered. There's now a vent on the roof that allows you to drop downtown Jimmy Brown into archives. But what if you wanted to go all the way downtown Jimmy Brown? That's easy. The vent now drops all the way downtown Jimmy Brown into pipes. And let's pretend there's a mattress there to break the fall. But what if you wanted to leave downtown Jimmy Brown? Well, you just climb back out. Not enough vents? How about we add in another way to get to the other building? We'll throw in a vent that lets you crawl from lounge over to maps. But the comment did say one long crawlable vent, so we'll add one in that connects both bridges, starting from outside going all the way up to the upper bridge. This is perfect for Sam Fisher, allowing him to get some cams up and check out the area. This wouldn't really be a practical feature, but it could be a cool way to traverse parts of the map. And don't worry, we also made a vent that could fit gridlock. What if we added more jukeboxes to Clubhouse? This is what a handful of people have been asking for, so this is what they are getting. We'll add a few more to the bar to start out, and this isn't even the full volume right now. I had to lower it so you could hear Bateman giving the rundown. We've also replaced the stairs, so you can jam out while going downtown Jimmy Brown. The door has been blocked off in the tunnel, so there's no escaping the music. If for whatever reason you wanted to leave downtown Jimmy Brown, the floor in blue has been replaced with jukeboxes. No matter which way you leave downtown Jimmy Brown, it involves a jukebox, with the ladder and oil pit being replaced, and a giant jukebox and garage. You go outside, and you realize all of Stripside has been replaced by 2 giant jukeboxes. You climb up to the roof to see what else has been replaced, and you look over and see part of the town is now a jukebox. You then turn back around and look up to see 3 jukeboxes are floating in the sky. It's so loud that I need subtitles to tell you what Bateman said. What if we added more metal detectors to Canal? I know a few asked for it, but I can't find the comments, so this is what you're getting, mystery people. We'll start off small as per usual and add a bunch to the bridge. And we'll also block off the security room to make it extra secure. Unfortunately, downtown Jimmy Brown has been blocked off, and same with the maps room, so you'll have to walk through the metal detectors to green stairs. But the green stairs have disappeared right in front of your eyes, and you can't see in there unless you shine a light. And all of a sudden, they've been replaced with metal detectors, so you head uptown Funk. You hear a metal detector going off, so you go to investigate. Canal has been flooded, and a submarine tried to sneak past a metal detector. You get distracted since you were watching the Blue Beetle movie on your phone, and now you're trapped in metal detectors. So you head to the roof and look off in the distance. There's a giant metal detector, but you can't hear anything. That's because you've gone deaf from the gridlock-sized metal detector looming behind you. What if the only thing left on Oregon was downtown Jimmy Brown? I've seen the people asking for more downtown Jimmy Brown, so this one is for Jimmy Brown and his fans. You might also be wondering who Jimmy Brown is. Well, just know he's always downtown. When making the map suitable for Jimmy Brown, we accidentally went a little overboard and deleted some of the surroundings in downtown Jimmy Brown. So you best be watching your step. You don't want to fall all the way downtown Jimmy Brown and end up stuck like Chuck. Most of these spots lead to the void, where not even the brightest of flashlights work. But how far downtown Jimmy Brown can we go if there's solid ground? Well, let's find out. We'll start off simple, to see if sub-downtown Jimmy Brown is forbidden, and we're good to go. So let's head further downtown Jimmy Brown. How far downtown Jimmy Brown can we go? Let's find out. We can still go further, let's keep going. Gotta go as far downtown Jimmy Brown as possible. This is pretty far, but we can keep going. I think we're almost at maximum downtown Jimmy Brown. Let's keep it moving. This is about to be it. We've hit the maximum downtown Jimmy Brown before we hit the platform.
Op 4 eliminated all friendlies.
What if you attempted to board the helicopter on Bank? We all know what happened last time we tried this on Border. This is what Leve wanted, so this is what she gets. You go inside to take refuge from the speaker, but the main lobby has a bunch of speakers installed already making you feel nauseous. You keep moving through though, but the office hallway also has been lined up with speakers. So you do the smartest thing you can think of, and head downtown Jimmy Brown. But once you get downtown Jimmy Brown, you realize you're stuck like Chuck, since the doors are blocked off. So you do the next best thing and head uptown Funk. But part of uptown Funk is blocked, and at this point you're losing all your marbles, so you risk it and go back outside. You were warned to not attempt to board the helicopter. A giant speaker has been put in the bank parking lot to make sure the message gets across this time. If you want to do this for yourself, the R6 Discord in my bio has all the info about heated metal. You've officially lost it, and try to board the helicopter again, but you can't hear anything. Well, that's because a speaker has been put in that's the size of a skyscraper, and you've gone deaf. So you do the only thing you can do and jump downtown Jimmy Brown into the void. What if we added more pictures of Cade to Fortress? This is what Noah wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll start out small as per usual and add some pictures to the walls, ceiling, and also creating a new wall, blocking off some of the hallway. The next thing we'll do is replace the soft walls in the commander's office with more pictures of Cade. This way, every time you look at the wall, you'll be reminded of who is always keeping that wall closed when Bandit isn't around. We'll head downtown Jimmy Brown, but in case you want to go back uptown Funk, there's a picture of Cade that you can climb. Next, we'll replace the floor and main lobby with pictures of Cade. That way, anyone walking in is reminded of my glorious king, who is always there to help keep walls and hatches closed. We'll also add a few more pictures in the hallway in case you forgot about him already. But everyone outside needs to see my glorious king. So we'll go ahead and replace the front entrance with a picture. But when I say everyone, I mean it. So we'll add a giant picture to the sky. That way everyone is always reminded of Cade. What if Gridlock jumped in the canal, causing it to flood and also destroyed a bunch of submarines in the process, so they had to send new ones? Well, this is what Evan wanted, so this is what he's getting. A couple subs pulled up outside of what used to be the construction site and parking lot. You head inside to seek refuge from the flood, but the water has risen to the first floor, and a couple mini-subs pulled up inside the building. Not sure how they got in or how they'll get out. Probably gonna end up stuck like Chuck. A couple more mini-subs surfaced from downtown Jimmy Brown, now guarding the stairs, meaning that you sadly can no longer go downtown Jimmy Brown. Gridlock fell in again, causing an even bigger flood this time, and a sub crashed through the control room, destroying a bunch of stuff. Once again, Gridlock fell in, this time causing the water to rise all the way up to the top of the building, and the biggest sub you've ever seen pulled up, until you realize you're standing on a sub. The world's biggest sub has been sent for Gridlock. What if we added more helicopters to board her? You wouldn't dare think about attempting to actually board one of them. Just sit back and watch as they fly by. And this is what Ruben wanted, so this is what he's getting. Of course, we'll add a handful of helicopters to start out and just observe, since you clearly hear the guy on the loudspeaker. But let's freeze a helicopter so he's stuck like Chuck, and we can investigate up close to see what it looks like, without boarding it, of course. But let's add even more helicopters, so now there's a whole swarm of them flying uptown Funk. Still though, don't even think about attempting to board any of those helicopters. I tried to make giant helicopters, but for some reason they get lost downtown Jimmy Brown in the void, since for whatever reason you can't change the flight path. And this is what it looks like to stand in the flight path of the helicopters. What if we added metal detectors to Oregon? Well, this is what Evan wanted, so this is what he's getting. We'll add a few to the main lobby. This way anyone trying to creep like the creep man through the front door will be heard. We've gone ahead and replaced pretty much everything in meeting with metal detectors. A few walls have been knocked out and replaced, as well as a few rows being added leading up to one giant metal detector. Also, we threw a few more posters on the wall just for fun. Before we go downtown Jimmy Brown, we'll go uptown Funk. But the tower stairs have been replaced with metal detectors. We'll head downtown Jimmy Brown, and it's been hollowed out and replaced with metal detectors, with a line of metal detectors that lead all the way through the basement. There's also a metal detector to stop you from falling all the way downtown Jimmy Brown into the void. You gotta get away from all the beeping, so you hop on the magic school bus to fly away, but you've lost your hearing, because all of Oregon has been covered in metal detectors. What if we added more cameras to board her? Ever since you attempted to board the helicopter, security has been increased significantly. And this is what Everett wanted, so this is what he's getting. Of course, as we always do, we'll start out small and cover the entire hallway with cameras. And before you ask, sadly these ones don't work. And they're also pretty strong. Since this is pre-reworked border, we'll go ahead and make our own bridge, made out of cameras. This way we can see anytime Gridlock is headed to get a snack. We'll head downtown Jimmy Brown, but in case you want to go back uptown Funk, you can climb a ladder of cameras. The bathroom is on full lockdown, with a metal detector and cameras everywhere. This way we for sure won't miss seeing Doc get changed into his shorts or get oiled up. You head outside, but you're still being watched, this time with a giant camera that can see all of border. You escape the border, but you still have the sick feeling that you're being watched. And that's because you are. You're always being watched.
What's going on, everyone? Just had to pop in real quick at the end for a classic quick update. But before I get into all that, I want to give a huge shout out to the people in the Operation Throwback Discord who created the heated metal tool, which is the name of the tool I used to make this video. I'll leave a link to their Discord in my bio if you want to try it out for yourself, as well as my own Discord. Now that I got Operation Throwback up and running, I'm hoping to do more videos with that. It would also be cool to play on some of these custom maps with other people, which is possible, so perhaps we can get something cooking with that. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested. But of course, thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next video.